Okay, but let's start, as we have already several, like a lot of people have joined the call, and I'll do the quick intro, and then we can move on to the topics. I'm Taavi Tamkivi from FinanceEstonia, and I'm running this event today. And thanks for everyone who managed to enter into this call. So the topic today is what does it take to succeed in Finland? And you can ask this question from several angles, but as the organizers of the event are from financial sector, then you might guess what's the angle to this success that we have in mind. We have a number of speakers today, but like I just wanted to say a few words why we're organizing this event, this kind of event. So basically, there are like as our Finnish and Estonian startup ecosystem is really crowded and really interesting, and so is the financial sector. And we in the FinanceEstonia are operating within the borders of like financial side and startup and technology industry. And like a lot of enterprises or companies in Estonia are looking for how to expand their business and how to grow into new markets. And definitely for every scalable fintech, London is an attractive place, New York, Germany are attractive places. But actually we discussed that next to us there is a Finnish market and then Finnish experience, which is like still 5 to 10 times bigger than our own market and experience. So let's start learning from our neighbors, and we can expand on that. And like it's meant for Estonian, mostly for Estonian fintech and financial companies who are interested in how to enter into Finnish market and what are the failures that can happen over there, what are the strengths that they can play out. So we have this event itself is not directly networking, because like it's pretty hard to create the direct contacts over the webinar forum. But definitely, I think one of the goals is that people get new ideas, what to do, how to reach the Finnish market. Maybe you'll get some new contacts still, people who are presenting, they are experts, the best experts in their field. So you can learn from them, you can reach out to them afterwards, hopefully, and you can get the new contacts. And definitely, if there is a need, we can run also like the proper like a networking event also, where there are like more and more direct contacts happening. But just very briefly about today's agenda. We have, as I said, a lot of experts and really best people speaking. So first of all, there is a Finnish ambassador in Estonia, Timo Kantala, is going to talk about. Then fintech sector overview is given by Janne Salminen from Helsinki, and Helsinki Fintech Farm. And then Holvis co-founder Toomas Toivonen will give overview, and Helsinki new Helsinki accelerators Ola Sandel will talk about his accelerator, and then panel discussion moderated by Kaido. Just some practicalities. We have pretty busy agenda, so please drop your questions into the chat of the Zoom link. So I will ask these questions on your behalf from the speaker after they have finished their talk. We are recording this webinar, but all the attendees, like listeners, won't have a video or audio today. So just you're hidden from everyone who sees the record afterwards. And if you do want to speak, actually, if you have some great ideas, then please use this wave button to let me know, and I can give a word to you. But yeah, like just a list of standard questions, so simple question, you can definitely write them in the chat as well. And after the call, we will share the slides and webinar recordings as well. So that's it from my side for now. I'm giving the word to Timo Kantala, Finnish ambassador in Estonia, for his opening words. Timo, over to you.
Thank you, and greetings from Toompea, from the former home of Konstantin Päts. It's a fantastic building that our foreign ministry has here. I was thinking what to say, and I will say some go into rather general remarks, but I try to say something which would be interesting for the audience. The main difficulty is that when we talk about business and going to do business in Finland, at the end of the line, it's the companies and business people who have to make the choices. And for one company, it's a good environment. For another one, it's not so good environment. And so business is at the end always in the hands of those who are involved. The first point that I would like to make is that we are used to say that the relation between Estonia and Finland is unique compared to relations of countries in general. And in that context, I would say that it's true, but when we talk about doing business, either Finnish business here or business from Estonia to Finland, one has to remember, and the basic is the general context, which applies to any foreign companies that want to do business in or establish themselves in Finland. The general context is a country which is stable, predictable, and well-functioning, and you know that we are ranking high on different scores and indexes also that relate to business. And that is the context also for Estonians who want to get involved with Finland, a high level of education. And the general context also includes that Finland is not a paradise for people nor for the companies. And we have a kind of healthy discussion constantly in Finland about to what extent Finland is a business-friendly country. Are we business-friendly? And what are the hiccups or difficult issues that we should address? They relate to taxation, social security, bureaucracy, labor issues, labor market issues, and so on. So there are, of course, there's always room for improvement. But with that said, one has to remember that we have in Finland companies all over Finland that are doing fine and that are real success stories. Finland is a success story. I can tell you that I went to Sweden, first trip to Sweden, late 70s, I recall, and to Stockholm. And when I landed with a ferry, I kind of said that, wow, what a rich country Sweden is. And since then, we have been able to catch up quite well compared to Sweden. And I think my children, when they went to Sweden first time, they didn't say the wow. Of course, to some degree, they still said it, but not in the same way that I did. So Finland has been a success story, and that is largely also a success story of the companies in Finland. So it's a good environment. Then the second point that I want to address is that we often here in Tallinn, we like to say that Estonia is the first stopover or spot for Finnish companies when they want to go abroad. And that sounds like and nice, and there may be some truth in that. Cultural similarities, geographic proximity, many connections, fast connections between Finland and Estonia. We talk about Helsinki. So it's kind of half domestic market, Estonia to Finland. And now one can say that it's a little bit of a mirror image perhaps for Estonians who want to go to Finland. Only with a difference, as you also indicated, that for Estonian companies, there's much more kind of a value or potential in that, because Finnish market is about 4 times bigger or 10 times bigger, as you said, than Estonian markets. So much more for Estonian companies to kind of succeed compared to Finnish companies, because Estonian domestic market is that much smaller than Finnish domestic market. But to some degree, there is this sort of an observation that can be made. And then when we look at Estonian companies as compared to other foreign companies that from other countries that want to establish themselves in Finland, there are a couple of advantages that they have. One is, of course, the fact that there are so many Estonians living in Finland permanently, roughly 50,000, and then the color poisit, and on top of that also some additional, and many who have earlier been living in Finland. So there's a lot of this sort of local knowledge available for anybody who needs it. We talked yesterday in the news. It was there was the question about Estonian language teaching in the Helsinki University. It may be true that in some respects the learning of the Finnish language or languages both ways has changed over the years, but the fact is that there's a lot of Estonians who can Finnish language, and that's a big asset compared to companies which want to come to Finland from other countries. And with that, one can also, of course, one needs to remember that that there are currently some perhaps 4,000 companies, Finnish companies, or companies with some Finnish relation that are operating or in somehow active in Estonia, and there are thousands of companies in Finland which have some sort of connection to Estonian by ownership or by some other way. And so there's a lot of this sort of potential to start to work together. And then I go to kind of the future point that I often like to remind. When we looked this taas iseseisvumise period since the early 90s, there has been quite a big change. Also, if we look at the business connections in 90s, many Finnish companies and also individuals, in fact, came to Finland, to Estonia to establish business, and they made some, perhaps even some made very kind of good profits, and that has been changing over the years, and the labor cost in Estonia has risen, and slowly but surely Estonia is catching up Finland in terms of the welfare. And then there is occasionally discussion that is Estonia too expensive for Finnish companies, or is textile industry moving to cheaper countries? And I in that context, of course, I don't want to deny that there are consequences when salaries go high, but I want to always to remind that the future is not in a situation where the other neighbor is kind of lower in terms of welfare and the other is more prosperous. That two prosperous countries will benefit from each other, and it's kind of win-win for both of them. Just look at Finland, Sweden, for instance. As I said today, the relations are extremely strong, and it's a good environment for business that there are two prosperous countries. Same if you look at the Netherlands and Germany, or Switzerland as a neighbor to Germany and France. So one cannot make an assumption that it is somehow a threat for business relations when the welfare level of Estonian will get closer to Finland, and certainly it will, and that's going to be useful. And I believe that the consequence of that will be that our economies and business relations will be even more interrelated and integrated. And then we also will be facing the big issues, but one can say that global uncertainties, which are perhaps today bigger than earlier, and the questions like what is the stability in the global markets or in the security field, resilience issues, and we have a good case now with Corona. So there will be kind of a bright future, but we need to accept that there will be consequences, and companies will have to adapt to that. And then finally, just a word of Corona. This has been, of course, and continues to be a complication in the regarding also the traffic across the Gulf of Finland, and everybody is hoping that one would get rid of the restrictions as soon as possible. One issue that I would like to point out is that it has increased the understanding here, as far as I understand, how important Finns are for Tallinn area, for Estonian tourism, and also more largely on the service sector in especially Tallinn region. And everybody in Estonia seems to be waiting that Finns would come back, and I think it's in a way good reminder that after all Finns were important, because it may have been that there was a little bit of a stagnated situation and thinking on that front earlier. And of course, in the same way, I would hope that when we will see more prosperous Estonia, certainly it will then benefit also tourism in Finland, and Estonians coming more to Finland to have winter holidays or summer holidays. So with that, that was my kind of general remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Timo, so much for your kind words. And I really like your point that the Helsinki, our finest Bay Area, it's not a zero-sum game, and both countries and companies and people from both countries will win, or we are winning both from this kind of tighter cooperation. Thank you again. Let's move on to the fintech and financial world to zoom in. And Janne Salminen from Helsinki Fintech Farm, who is partially guilty for today's event as well, because like he gave the idea that we should talk more and we should interact more, and he can tell more about Finnish fintech market to us. So over to you, Janne.
Thank you, Taavi, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janne Salminen. I'm the CEO of Fintech Farm Helsinki, and I'll give you a brief overview on what's going on in the Finnish fintech industry. So here we go. So just very briefly about Fintech Farm. So we're a private company, officially established last year. We are a spin-off from a private startup, Accelerator Hub 13, since 2014. So we've been working full time in the Finnish fintech field roughly for 5 years now, and we believe strongly in building innovation and growth through partnerships and ecosystems. So we want to definitely bring together the different stakeholders. We have a lot of services for the community for free. So we do different publications. We have an online database, landscape information, meetups, etc., which you can utilize for free. But then also on a commercial basis, we do consulting, research, market entry services, acceleration, events, and so on. We have roughly 100 fintech members. Our main partners are from the banking side, Citi and Danske, and then we have a bunch of service provider members or partners as well. And the member network is mostly Finnish, but we do also accept foreign companies. So I think Bondora is the latest addition in our network from Estonia, and we're really looking forward to get more foreign companies in the network. So we want to help companies enter the Finnish market and also Finnish companies to grow internationally. Just briefly about Finland and the Finnish fintech industry. So we have roughly 200 fintech companies. There's not like a specific focus that they would focus on a very narrow niche of fintech. They do generally all kind of stuff. As you can see from the chart, InsurTech is a bit smaller. Payments and financial software are clearly bigger. And I think the Finnish fintechs are a bit more focused on the sustaining technologies, the infrastructure, and the backend side. So there's not that much massive B2C businesses or neobanks, which is probably smart because, for instance, if you want to build a neobank, you need a lot of funding and stamina in order to get the customer base built. So yeah, I think it's either modest or smart to focus more on the backend side, but that's what Finns tend to do in this field more. The companies generated roughly 1.3 billion in revenue in 2019, and they have raised roughly 500 million euros so far. What are the companies then? So we have listed here the biggest startups, companies founded since 2015, based on the revenue in 2019. The biggest one currently is Voima Gold. They are combining physical gold investing with a digital user interface. Second biggest is Enfuse. Their main product is a card payments platform as a service. These are numbers from 2019, so they are roughly doubling for the 2020, but this is approximately what's the scope and range we're looking for in revenue for a few-year-old companies. If we look at the scale-up side, the companies are clearly much bigger. Funding is here. Financing companies are still here, very playing a key role. So generating revenue through interest rates is still trending in financial services. Of course, we can see that transaction-based business models and SaaS solutions are clearly growing in the fintech field. But yeah, the interest rates are still there to make profit in financing fintech companies. And then if we look at the biggest companies of all, so yeah, Ferratum, probably a company everyone knows on the funding side, mostly loans for consumers and businesses. Then we have some older companies, Basware, Samlink, back to 80s and 90s, but we can clearly see that also the newer era fintech companies are getting up on this list. If we look at how the funding has evolved in Finland in fintech, so before 2019, the companies used to raise roughly 40 million euros a year in total. 2019 was extremely good, almost 150 million euros. That was mostly due to two massive rounds. So AlphaSense and ePassi both raised 40 million euros each. So that increased the number quite much. Last year was terribly bad due to the pandemic. There weren't any rounds from spring until December, but then in the winter it got back on track, and we have now got quite many interesting funding rounds in the last months. So the latest one was Enfuse. They raised 7 million, where 5 million came from Tencent. So things are looking positive for the future. Also, we have Volt, which we have not counted as a fintech company, even though they work in the payment field quite much. But they also raised this year 440 million euros. So that's a huge number. And in general, the Finnish startups are raising most capita per GDP in the entire Europe. So the startup boom in Finland is really showing some extremely good results after all. Here are the top funded fintech companies. So AlphaSense, they are working on market intelligence, mostly in the US market. It's founded in Finland. They have the engineering in Finland, even though the markets are abroad. So maybe a little bit like TransferWise or Wise. So they have moved their headquarters after where the biggest market is. One very interesting topic and strength in Finland in the field of fintech and financial services is the standards and ecosystems and the digital infrastructure we have. So there are many projects, consortiums, collaboration between public and private sector. We have the real-time economy program run by the government, where the aim is to create all the receipts and invoices in a digital format by 2025, latest 2030. That would give huge possibilities and advantages to automate the accounting. We're talking about some 800 million euros in cost savings annually. Then another interesting initiative is Findi. It was kind of founded a few years ago, but officially this week they founded an official entity for it. So it's a verifiable data network, which could be utilized both for companies and individuals. And that's a consortium project where we have a few stakeholders from the public sector. Then we have major banks such as Nordea and OP. We have the Finance Finland Association, some other associations as well, and the Post of Finland. So that's something we're really looking forward on what are the possibilities there to create a trusted digital network to build business and solutions on. Then we also have the electronic housing company shares. So they created a standard a few years ago. Then one fintech company created a blockchain platform where you can actually trade housing company shares just online. So you can nowadays buy an apartment with your mobile phone in Finland. And then of course we have a lot of EU level projects, which are also together with Estonia, and then some Nordic joint projects like the P27 payment network, for instance. One thing which may be interesting for Estonian companies if you're working in the loan space. So a few years ago, 2019, the government capped the consumer loans up to or down to 20%, which changed the field quite much. So it consolidated the market, and now it gives clearly an advantage for companies who can get in money for a reasonable rate. For instance, banks who can get money for free. So that has consolidated the market quite much. And now due to the pandemic last summer, they dropped the cap to 10% for a temporary time or until the end of last year. But then in the beginning of the year, they extended the cap, so it should end at the end of September when we go back to the 20%. But this has changed quite much the consumer loan space, where we have seen quite many different kind of players with different models, peer-to-peer lending, and so on. Other trends we can see in Finland: sustainability. Of course, it's been a huge trend globally in the recent years. Banks especially are focusing on where are they putting their investments in. Banks are putting ambitious aims to become carbon neutral and so on. So that's a big field. Also, there are a lot of fintech companies working in that space, and of course they gain interest from the banks. Otherwise, what the banks are doing currently, the incumbents are having quite much focus on renewing their core banking systems. They're struggling with legacy platforms, so that's where their biggest focus is on. there's not that much visible fintech collaboration programs. Of course, they are looking into that space as well, but maybe the main focus is right now in getting the basic stuff figured out. And then, of course, open banking. It's been a really trendy thing for years. And after PSD2 came, we didn't see a dramatic amount of new open banking solutions in the field, but slowly we are starting to see some new business cases. Obviously, the multi-banking apps and credit scoring solutions are there, but we are also slowly seeing some other applications as well. I have just listed here a bunch of fintech companies you may want to follow up with. AlphaSense market intelligence software, like I mentioned, they raised 40 million a few years ago. Enfuse also growing very rapidly in the field of payment services. ePassi is a payment solution provider in Finland with the space of mobile payments, but they're also collaborating with WeChat and Alipay and doing their clearing in Europe. Holvi, it's an interesting story. Thomas will tell more about how he sold the company and then bought it back. So let's see what's happening there. I'm very eager to hear more. Then we have LVS Brokers loan comparison platform, which has been expanding around the Europe in the recent years. And Tesseract Investment is a crypto space, crypto asset management firm, which is doing quite interesting and new business models over there. But yeah, to summarize, I would just like to say that we have a lot of all the figures, statistics, insights are available on our website. So if you're interested, please visit there. We also provide lending services. We have meetups coming up, and we do annually a Helsinki Fintech Guide, which is coming up again in next month. So please stay tuned and see what our website has to offer. So if you're looking to enter the Finnish market, we're definitely there to help.
Thank you so much for your.
But yeah, that's everything from my side, and thank you very much, Tavi, for inviting me.
Thank you. Just there is one question. I'm so impressed by this pie chart that you had, like so full of 100 plus fintech companies that you cover. But what do you think? What is behind the so crowded market or like success of Finnish fintechs? Like what has created them? Is it a lot of banking experience? Is it a lot of money? Is it a lot of good legislation? Because like if Estonian companies would like to move there, can they hope to find a lot of fintech experts to hire, or a lot of VC funding that they can raise? Or what's behind the success of the current market that you see?
Well, yeah, I think generally Finland has a really strong background in technology. Everyone probably knows like the Nokia and their legacy and the expertise which has been breeding from that industry. But then also in general the Finnish startup space has been really booming in the recent years. So that has shown in the fintech field as well. Regulation wise, I think Finland is well, we're all EU countries, so we have mostly the EU regulation, and then otherwise Finns are quite like to follow the rules and go by the book. So it's definitely not like a loose environment for regulatory, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily a bad thing.
Thank you again. So moving on to more concrete experiences and more concrete examples, as Jan also mentioned, Toomas Toivonen, co-founder and head of Holvi, which is like one of the most interesting Finnish fintechs I've ever seen. So Toomas, over to you to tell your story to us.
Great. I hope you can hear me. So my name is Toomas Toivonen, co-founder and CEO of Holvi. And what I'll tell you about today is a little bit about where we are as Holvi today, where we come from, what we do. But then I'll also go through a bit our internationalization experience in going to the German market. And of course, in the panel later today, we'll talk a lot about the Finnish market and why maybe Estonian fintechs should consider the Finnish market. So take our experience of going to Germany as an example of why you might want to consider Finland instead of going to Germany. Germany is big, it's attractive, but it's got its downsides. So let me just share the slides so that you can see. Hopefully you can see the slides. If not, let me know. Yes, so a little bit about Holvi. So we've been serving European entrepreneurs since 2001, and we've got about 200,000 customers that we've onboarded to the Holvi service over the past 10 years. Helsinki and Berlin are our main locations. So we are a Finnish company. We've got about 2/3 of our team is in Helsinki, 1/3 in Berlin, but we consider ourselves really kind of as a dual headquartered company. So 2 home markets in Finland and Germany. And customers, of course, are mostly in Germany and Finland. And here the breakdown is about 2/3 in Germany, 1/3 in Finland. Then we are present in 10 additional markets in Europe, including Estonia, where we service e-residents. We're not currently onboarding new e-residents as customers, but we still have quite a large set of e-residents that are Holvi customers. And we are a full stack regulated fintech company. So we basically do everything in-house. We're regulated as a payment institution, passported all across Europe, and have been since 2015 with full European clearance. And what we provide for our customers is really current account and card. So the transactional banking and payment services that every business needs. And then we also provide a business management SaaS tooling, as well as in the Finnish market full accounting. So our customers really can get from us the business management tooling, accounting, as well as the banking services that they require. So effectively, our mission is to help the small business entrepreneurs to focus on what they do best, which is serving their customers. If you are a freelance yoga teacher, then that your speciality is being freelance yoga teacher. It is not in understanding all the nuts and bolts of how do you do the accounting for your business. That's where we come to help and help you focus in your core competence. As we always say, is that the small business owners, they're not the small business in the business of business management. They're in the business of being freelance programmers, freelance graphic designers, freelance yoga teachers, and we do the finance management for them. As a company, we of course have a bit of history already, about 10 years, and this has gone as kind of 5-year periods. The first 5 years, we were a venture funded startup. So one of the kind of, well, I don't know if we can say that one of the original Finnish fintech companies, but definitely started at the time when I mean there wasn't any fintech companies because the fintech term wasn't even invented. And we're still one of the few Finnish companies that actually do not provide infrastructure services, but go directly to consumers. In our case, small business customers. So really in the neo-banking area. Then we did a early fintech exit to BBVA, one of the largest European banks based in Spain. And for 5 years, we were a fully owned subsidiary of BBVA, so part of their new businesses portfolio. Very good years, a lot of investment from BBVA that allowed us to really build the presence in Germany that we have. But then at a point in last year, due to COVID, mainly a opportunity came up for us to do a management buyout. And since February of this year, we've now continued as an independent company. So as we like to call like indie Holvi, so a company owned by the team. And now we've been kind of setting everything in motion for the next 5-year mission to explore the strange new worlds of fintech, and it's been quite exciting for myself and of course for the whole team to now continue as an independent company, building solutions for our customers and serving our customers. And then a bit about our expansion into the German market. So we've been in German market for quite a while. I think that the first customers we got in 2014, but then in a larger scale in 2015, went to the market, started to build the presence in Germany. For us, the rationale for going to Germany was very much that from Finland, we wanted to go to markets that were bigger than Finland. Of course, Sweden would have been the logical expansion path, about twice the size of Finland. But as a payment startup, Sweden would have required immediately for us to build support for additional currency. So we really wanted to go to a Euro market and decided that Germany, well, actually we went to Austria first and then Germany, and we thought that if we learned things in Austria, then they would adapt to Germany, but no, not really. I mean, they are really two different countries. Even though, of course, when you localize the language, then that works in both markets. But the lessons from Austria didn't really apply to Germany. But so that was really kind of the reason in going to Germany, because Sweden really wasn't an option for us. But of course, Germany is attractive. Compared to Finland, it's about 15 times the size of Finland, about 60 times the size of Estonia. So like significantly bigger. It is a Euro market, of course, and it is in very many ways similar to Finland in a sense that it is predictable, it is quite rules bound. The legal environment is quite clear, but that's not only a benefit, as Germany is very rules bound. So as long as you follow the rules, everything is great. If you make a mistake in not following exactly as the German rules go, then there's very little kind of leeway that, okay, now you made an honest mistake, but it is that you didn't really follow like 100% the form of the law. You might have followed the letter of the law and the spirit of the law, but you didn't follow the form of the law, and then that can be a problem. One of the things to understand about the German market, that it's really not a digital market at all. If you're coming from Estonia to Finland, there is already not only the literal gulf, but there is a gulf in digital practices, and it can be a bit of a shock, kind of how much there is still to be digitized in Finland. But then going from Finland to Germany, the gulf is really big. So it is not as at all natively digital market yet. As a fintech that needs to do customer identification, know your customer. I mean, in Estonia, in Finland, you can identify your customers fully digitally. In Germany, you still need to do video calls. So you need to localize everything in how you identify your customers for the market. In Germany, you still need to work a lot with paper documents. You need to have paper documents signed in paper. You need to deliver the documents in paper. As a payment startup, you still need to have people at the office, even during Corona, so that if there is any documents that any authorities want to deliver to you, you have to have someone there receiving those documents. Also, if you set up a German subsidiary, I mean, managing an Estonian limited company, super easy. In Finland, almost as easy. But setting up a GmbH in Germany, a limited company, I mean, it is way more laborious to just get the practicalities done. Then if you look at the localization, that is something that matters a lot in Germany. The language localization, of course, is important, but that's really just the start. There's a lot of conventions that you need to take into account, and you can't even take into account the kind of German conventions until you really understand those. So that means that it's very important to have a local presence, that you have someone on the ground, you have a team on the ground, people who have lived in German market for a significant amount of time and kind of understand the mentality, understand the practices. Otherwise, you're really trying to import kind of Estonian practices or Finnish practices in the German market, and that just I mean, we learned that the hard way, that it's such a big market. It's not that even if you bring a better way of doing things to the German market and then expect that hey, this is objectively a better way to do things, that okay, the market will adapt to your better way of doing things. No, I mean, that won't happen. It is such a big market that it is you as a market entrant that will have to adapt. So that's a lot of work, and even before you know what to do, you need to understand what to adapt. I mean, one of the very practical example is that for the first few years in the German market, we operated on a cross-border basis in the regulatory sense of, so we had people in the ground, but we offered our payment services, the web apps, the mobile apps, on a cross-border basis. So our customers had FI IBANs, they had Finnish IBANs for their accounts. They work exactly as a German IBAN, a DE IBAN, but it was just this kind of sense of being local that was missed, and it was surprisingly important for the customers in Germany. So then we had to set up a branch in Germany from a regulatory perspective, and localize all our payments and banking practices to German standards. So you might think that there is, like in euros, SEPA payments across Europe, and yes, there is, but there is Finnish SEPA, and there is German SEPA, and there's Estonian SEPA, and if you want to really do the localization, you just have to go all the way, and it is a long road. It takes a lot of work, and then it takes you a lot of operational complexity. So these days we have a local operations team in Germany. From Finland, we service all the other markets. So it is these kinds of costs you need to do. And it was such a painful experience to set up the DE IBANs that we even did for the team, like Holvi DE IBANs t-shirt, that okay, now you got this done. That amazing job. Yeah, what else did I want to say? Yeah, I mean, the local way of doing things really is important. I mean, we provide for our customers also accounting services, and there it took us for a while to understand the differences in the German market compared to Finnish market, how much more regulated accounting is in Germany, the role of tax advisors as total gatekeepers on the market, who you really can't work around, but you need to work with. And then when you work with German tax advisors, then you have to work according to the established ways that of doing things that they have. Like one example is that in Germany, for accounting software, there is a cooperative called DATEV that has extremely dominant presence in the market in terms of market share. And if you don't work with DATEV, I mean, your product is just not competitive in the market. And all the tax advisors know how to work with DATEV. If you want to get tax advisors on your side, you have to work with DATEV. So just a lot of learning about the local market and localizing. So I guess that was pretty much all I wanted to say about Germany, and maybe the message is that if you are an Estonian fintech, you're looking at your first international market, you're looking at getting your internationalization in place, I would really recommend learning the art of internationalizing in Finland, then go to Germany, but it's a rough road if you go to Germany first. Thanks.
Thank you, Thomas, for sharing so interesting experiences. And your last point reminded me my days back in TransferWise or Wise, where UK market was already won and UK people loved us. and Germany was like, come on, it's easy, should be easy. Like, but again, like the same cultural localization challenges like stopped the expansion in Germany completely. So that's very true. Just as I said, from personal point of view, I was so impressed by Holvi creating or opening opportunity for e-residents, Estonian e-residents to open accounts with you, where there was no Estonian companies who could do that because of our legislation was still is quite restrictive. So that's like a signal of true innovation. And there is a question from either related to that as well. Like, Holvi is a great company for small businesses. When can Holvi start serve companies from Estonia? Like,
Yeah,
I think you did. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, great question, and we do service companies owned by e-residents at the moment. We're not onboarding new e-residency owned or non-e-resident owned Estonian companies, and the reason for that really goes back to Germany. Once we started to make this the full-on investment in the German market, at that point, I mean, we are live in about 10 markets. We are taking customers in Finland, Germany, and a number of other markets in. But once we started to really kind of go all in to the German market, we really had to prioritize. And then we decided that, okay, for the next couple of years, our plan is to be big in Germany and really get the return on all the investment that we've done. So then we deprioritized other markets and moved a number of markets into a mode where we service existing customers, but are not currently onboarding new customers. And that's a little bit where we are at the moment still, where Germany, 2/3 of the new customers are coming from Germany, 2/3 of the revenue is from Germany. So that's really is our focus. Of course, we are now also as Indie Holvi looking at when's going to be the expansion to additional markets. But then, of course, I can for Estonian companies very much recommend Xolo, where we have a couple of good friends, Holvi alumni in Xolo. So I can really recommend. That's a really great company as well. So very good friends of ours.
Thank you for that. And if I'm not wrong, then one of their co-founders is currently there. Okay, thank you again for your time, and we'll speak in the panel as well. But next speaker is Ola Sundel from Newco Helsinki Accelerator, introducing us what are the possibilities for startups or already established companies to boost their growth through the accelerator programs in Finland. So over to you, Ola.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, and really glad to be here. I'll share my presentation here, and put it in the presentation mode even. And yes, so my name is Ola Sundel. I'm the community lead at Newco Accelerator. It's a City of Helsinki organization under the executive office, so the economic department or the business department within the City of Helsinki. Let's say we're sort of filling the gap. We're obviously servicing entrepreneurs mainly, so the very early stage of entrepreneurship. Janne was mentioning that there is a boom in startup, a startup boom. From my perspective, I'm a little bit older than Janne, so I can see the boom having been already in place almost 2 decades now. But again, it's increasingly becoming, I mean, as the amount of startups is growing, it's increasingly becoming more difficult for a lot of startups to actually make it on their startup journey. So you need a lot of, and increasingly you need more help in the beginning of your startup journey. So obviously we're now seeing, let's say, the second and third generation of entrepreneurs. So a lot of talent, like startup talent, is already in place in Finland, and that is really what is now growing, and that is what the ecosystem wants to happen, is that you get a lot of successful entrepreneurs who then exit their startups and they come back and they start supporting other startups. And that is really happening now. So that is what we are sort of, those fruits are now being picked by a lot of successful startups in Finland, evidenced by a lot of investment. Newco is, again, as I said, we're a public, entirely public organization. So our job is to really offer all startups something. So we get a huge volume of startups in, and some of them are more to do with our business advisory services, which is really the sort of the solo entrepreneur and lifestyle entrepreneur, not looking to grow or internationalize. That is one department at Newco. Then the other department is our growth and startup services. The Finnish market, startup market, has already began quite, for some years now, has moved towards what I would call verticalization. So specialization around specific technologies and markets, industries, of which, of course, fintech is a great example. So just as a sort of a full disclosure also, I have a role in the Fintech Farm as well. So I am a colleague with Janne, so I do know, and I am involved with the fintech area, and I am the representative at Newco for fintech as well. But fintech is a great example of a very difficult vertical. The need for verticalization comes from regulation, like the education and health and medical industries are obviously highly regulated and complicated industries. So you need to have a lot of industry expertise to be able to succeed in that market. But as most of you know, fintech and banking and finance is in a different way almost even more complicated, because it's not, if you like, as specific as let's say health, which is a purely scientific field. Finance is not in that sense purely science-based, and so there is a lot of room for interpretation. There's big risks involved if something goes wrong. So the fear factor is very different, but very much there in the finance industry. The supervisors can at any point pull the plug on your business, which is literally the sort of the end of your story in many ways. So for startups, in a sense, bringing startups up into this mentality that it's not really enough that you have great business vision and great tech talent in your team. You also need that culture and compliance, compliance culture, if you like, that the finance industry brings with it. One great example, I would say, of two very different, like similar companies, but with a very different, let's say, outcome in the fintech space, was the Finnish crowdfunding platform Investor, and the Swedish one funded by me. And these were companies competing in the let's say, first half of the 2010 decade, and both have gone very different routes, and I would at least put a lot of investors' success onto their background in finance and understanding that if you truly want to grow and become a significant player in the finance industry, you really need to have that compliance culture and not try to innovate and sort of dress your rebellion against compliance and regulation, dress it with innovation and disruption. Onto the accelerator services. So again, we are open to everyone, and we do move teams into our verticals as well. So we are a very general and generic startup accelerator. Once again, I think there is a need for both the specialization, the vertical industry specialization, but also the general startup specialization, which still, in a lot of ways, is in very early. Even though we are seeing a lot of experience and through experienced entrepreneurs with successful exits, that experience itself has not really spread out into the ecosystem. So really the ecosystem players today are still moving, let's say, slower than the private players in the industry. So really the startup knowledge and know-how, how different it is to go to market with a new product and service than it is with an existing brand. Just surprises me every time how that is different from the corporate world. Our sort of specialization is that we don't do short-term programs. We do long-term support and coaching. So we do one-to-one, although we do follow a sort of a batch or a we deal with we have companies and we coach them in groups and push them through our program, but really the focus is in the one-to-one coaching and long term. So that is something we try to do, things that the private industry accelerators and consultants can't do. And that is number one, focus on very early stage startups. Second, offer them long-term support. And then thirdly, open up the Helsinki ecosystem and the Helsinki city organization. The Helsinki city is Finland's biggest employer with over 40,000 employees and with over €1 billion in budget. So a lot of capital can be also channeled into the startup ecosystem in different ways by the city of Helsinki. I would, in my mind, the city of Helsinki, after Business Finland, the city of Helsinki is definitely the most important ecosystem player in Finland. We have some entry criteria, but we are very flexible on these. So if you are looking to enter the Finnish market, we are 100% open for service and business for you, regardless if you have an idea in Finland or not. So yeah, that's pretty much my part of it. I don't want to take too much of time from the fintech focus here.
Thank you for this overview. I'm just reading these requirements. Even myself with my company Salv, we could almost apply there if we get this business ID in Finland. rest of the criteria still doing really well.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like we really don't read this strictly. So the main point is, if you're looking to enter the Finnish market, we are already at that point very much interested in collaborating and helping open up the Finnish market and tap into the local ecosystem.
That's really great, and I'm just curious because these accelerators tend to be really popular in the like startup hubs. Like, what is the competition to get into the accelerator in your case? Like how many attendees there usually are, or like how many places there are?
We have designed a let's say like a field we can service a large. I mean, so far in half a year we've already had a deal flow of little over 200 companies. So out of Newco, in our organization, we have around 20 people. So 20 full-time people offering services to entrepreneurs and startups. So in that sense, we can truly use our organization and the fact that we all work full-time, which is something, if you go to a private accelerator, the challenge is that all of the coaches participating in the accelerator coaching are actually doing full-time something else. So their time is very limited. To the time that they can actually spend with startups is actually very limited. For us, that is our only job, is to spend time with startups and help. So so again, we are the city of Helsinki, so we don't say no to anybody. We simply try to follow, let's say, these 3 steps. So starting from the beginning, so as we get to know on level 1, when we start to get to know the teams, we offer them more like knowledge-based knowledge and basic sort of startup expertise, general startup knowledge from financing, team building, and growth. But then when we start to identify the teams that are most ambitious and most skilled and most innovative and able to build products fast and in that sense take the fast track to global markets, then we start to give them go-to-market coaching and eventually acceleration, which is then really like the tip of the iceberg, what we do by connecting with investors and funding partners. And also obviously when applicable, also again the city of Helsinki as an organization and also our partners around the world. Again, city of Helsinki is a large organization, so there's a big movement, I would say, at the moment, is to really build synergies within the city. So there's Helsinki Partners or Helsinki Business Hub, which is really also promoting Finnish-based companies out to the world and helping a little bit, let's say, more scale-up phase companies reach international markets. Business Finland is doing very much similar. So yeah. There's many ways we can really help, and we try to tailor for each team a very specific service package.
So thank you again for these explanations. Really sounds exciting to get there.
No worries. Really really glad to have joined.
Thank you for that. So now I'm handing over to Kaida. I'm just sharing once again my screen for the panel discussion with you have not also heard Janne and Thomas, but then there is also Meelis Sadanen from TAVEX, Mihkel Stam from Estate Guru, and Valter Liive, Newco Helsinki, and moderated by Kaido Saar from FinanceEstonia. So Kaido, I'm handing over to you for the intro discussion.
Hello, and thank you, Taavi. I see the title of an event, and actually the title of a panel is "What does it take to succeed in Finland?" In general, a typical path for Estonian startups, including fintechs, this is a bit different. Usually after founding the company and doing proof of concept in Estonia, they mainly target US, UK, or some bigger EU markets like Germany, or alternatively safer or more traditional ways to expand to Baltic countries at first. No, but same time, we have a very good neighbor, Finland, bigger population than Estonia, higher purchase power. Why not to go to Finland? And we have close proximity, we have similar culture, but still many Estonian companies have tried to go to Finland, but they have failed. Why? Besides these, we have also success stories, and we have very good success stories also in our panel today. So what has it taken for them to succeed? So we will take a look. Is it right time, right people, knowledges, luck, or just a good endurance in Finnish sauna? We will see. At first, to open the discussion, Meelis, I checked your website and I noticed that you are not in Germany and you're not in other so-called major countries like US and these ones. Why did you choose Finland?
Good afternoon to everybody. And first of all, I have to tell you that TAVEX, because all our companies in abroad are called TAVEX, entered Finnish market already in 1996. And the reason was very simple, because I think it came from the beginning of 90s when many Estonians had good friends in Finland, and that was the time when I think we felt Finnish like a big brother, and we felt when we opened our company in Finland years ago also that we were like a smaller brother, and the big brothers normally love their smaller brothers, and it worked exactly this way. After Estonian Tavid, Finnish TAVEX was our first company out of Estonia. And now 25 years later, I can surely say that that was right decision to choose Finland, because now we are working in 9 countries more. Our most farthest company from Estonia is Bulgarian one, also Denmark, Poland. But even compared to Sweden and Norway, to make business in Finland for Estonians, I think it is much more common. And I don't know, to compare, there was also a question about to compare Finnish business climate with an example, Swedish or Norwegian one. And I would say that I think that Finns have the same feeling than Estonians, that they never been or never had kings or queens. And it makes making business also more simple. In Sweden and in Norway, we face very often some kind of, I even don't know how to say it out diplomatically, but we feel not smaller brother, but more stupid brother. And this is what we never felt in Finland. And I think that because of that, if you really want to open something new, then Finland could be a good choice. Of course, there is very hard competition in Finland, because normally Finnish companies are not weak on their market, and then you need to have something what gives you some kind of advantage or some kind of power to compete with them. It is not so simple. It is, again, if to compare in example, when we entered to Bulgaria, then we felt immediately that in few years we could be market leaders in some fields, but in Finland it was more difficult. And of course, for us, what was success was also that we are dealing with very different kind of businesses, money transfer, but also gold and silver, investment gold and silver sale, and then currency exchange. And it gives us some kind of flexibility. And at the same time, I would say that in gold and the silver business, this is very new business also in Scandinavian countries and also in Finland. And it gave us some kind of opportunity, because this market was relatively empty in Finland as well, in this meaning that there were no very strong competitors.
Okay, thank you, Meelis. Mihkel, what is your experience? Did you have also the same younger and older brother feeling? And yeah, you have recently entered to Finland.
Yeah, hello everybody. So yeah, Estate fully in a compliant way opened last year in Finland, but as a company we are already operation in 5 countries. So we also went to Germany at the same time. So I could say that don't choose either one country to another, like take both simultaneously, or take as much as you have possible if you have a really aggressive fintech in the beginning. But yes, it is tempting to go direct to the bigger market, and especially if you have a limited resources available. Like I think Thomas was telling about the German, we focus there, and there's so much to do there. So we thought that as well in the beginning. We now need after the Baltic, we need some bigger country, but then we started to get inquiries from Finland as well for our product, and then we already did the first deals, and then got to the same conclusion that hey, actually this is a much bigger market than in Estonia and even like Latvia, Lithuania is, and there's so much common and easy to collaborate actually. And so why not to go there as well? So, and it opens up maybe to other Scandinavian countries as well from there. So yeah, it was a kind of an opportunistic approach with then really the dedication to go there.
Okay, I would like to ask from Thomas, why should Estonian companies come to Finland? You presented by yourself that you expanded to Germany. So why come to Finland?
I mean, it depends a little bit on the motivation. So if as a company you've been only in your home market, then of course a good question is that, are you coming to Finland as a test market, or are you coming to Finland as an actual market that you really want to be for the long term? So are you using Finland to learn how to internationalize your product, or are you kind of looking at Finland as in revenue terms as a significant market? I mean, Finland in many ways it is a good market for new entrants. You can get quite far with an English language product, so that makes things easier. It is also a market that in very many ways is easy one to work in. I mean, if you make contracts in Finland, you usually do not need to worry that the contracts will not be honored, or that the legal system wouldn't be easy to work with. So in very many ways, it is an easy market to be in. Of course, the level of education is very high. So in that sense, might be an interesting market also to recruit talent in. It might be an interesting market from that perspective. Also, the Finnish consumer is kind of reasonably easy to work with. So I think it's not a bad market as a first step abroad.
Okay, thank you. Janne, you are in a bit different position. You probably have seen many companies coming to Finland. What is your experience? Why companies are coming? What's the reasoning?
Well, yeah, obviously Finland is not the biggest market in Europe at all. But yeah, most of the companies we see in the fintech space entering the Finnish market are obviously from Sweden and Norway and probably Denmark. And I think in this industry, the reason is the similarity in consumer behavior. So people are if we think about digital banking and financing, so people are used to get a loan online or anything similar to that. We don't like not using cash is just like a tangible example of how we are very much more similar to Estonia and Norway and Sweden than compared to, for instance, Germany. So the similarities makes it a natural way to expand from, for instance, Nordic countries to Finland. And I would say the same thing is with Estonia as well.
Okay, thank you. My own experience regarding Finland, years ago, I was responsible for the Estonian capital-based bank, and we also entered to Finland. And at the end of the day, successfully entered to Finland. So I have very good and positive memories regarding Finland and what was my learning Finland versus these so-called big countries, that in case if Estonian company, for example, is going to Germany or other big countries, then might be that in large country, you are not getting this market share what is big enough that you need to invest much more money than you have. For example, it was in our business in consumer lending, because if you need to get the credit quality what is good enough, you have to be in top of mind of a customer. And if you want to get such kind of market position, then definitely smaller countries are more affordable or how to say eatable for Estonian companies. So that was my learning. But to go on to the challenges regarding Finnish market, I remember first people with whom I had a meeting while entered to Finland. Everybody told that you have to be patient. You have to show out that you came to Finland to stay in Finland. So that was somehow important for these people, that please tell that you came here to stay here. So what is your experience? Meelis, you have been longest time in Finland. Has it been the same, or is your patience period, is it already over and it has been long enough or still going, or how to say?
This is a very good remark in this meaning that I wrote down that in Finland you need time, and this is exactly the same what you said out, that actually entering to Finland you must have some kind of time and you must have some kind of patience to wait until local customers are approving you, if I may say so, because normally Finnish customers are very loyal. This is, I don't know, I know a little bit Finnish market, and then nowadays I see also that our customers who we get to our company are very loyal, but they were also very loyal to their, how to say, for the companies they bought or they were dealing before us. And because of that, it took some time. But when you once prove or you show out that you are good enough and your prices are good enough and your service is trustable, then Finnish customers are very, very loyal. And this is really, I think, the same what you said out, that you need time. You must show that you are taking it really seriously. You are not flying it over for a moment and then just playing for a moment. And if they feel that you are a serious player, then they stay with you and then they are very loyal. And now 25 years after, I can say really that it paid back for us a lot. And then also new services, what we provide, old customers are coming to us and then they start to use new payment services and then such, and then they are really very loyal.
Okay, but most probably everybody is thinking, okay, but how much time do I need? Well, what is this patience period?
I would say that for us it took 2-3 years to get, let's say, some share of the market, and then that maybe 7-8% of the currency exchange people came to Tavex. They started to use our services. The biggest player in the market was Forex and then of course banks, but yeah, it took time. And now I can say that, in example, in the gold and silver, investment gold and silver business, we are probably the biggest player in Finland at all. And then the people, they get good service, and I would say that it is working also verbal advertising, that if they are happy with your service, then they also provide it to friends and then to other people. And then I think it was 2-3 years. It was not 25 years to wait. Now we can get already dividends.
Fine. Mihkel, what's your experience? In your case, 2-3 years is still going, or no?
Yeah, like I said, we have been like our operation in 5 different countries and have done deals already in Vassal doing this loan lending, being a marketplace for that. So in 8 countries. So each country has been unique, and so has Finland. But I do agree that there's this certain level of resistance, and especially connected with the trust what you need to build up in Finland. So, for example, we are already in our segment like market leaders in continental Europe, and we had like a lot of investors using the platform already around Europe, and a big part of investors also in Germany. But when we finally started to more focus on Finland, then we talked with different potential business partners, and they were also like, "Wow, we really love your product. We already know you. Yeah, let's do things together. But we won't do any business before you have a license, for example." And then to get the license, it was like it also takes time, you know, to build a process. It was said like, yeah, you could do it in 3 or 6 months, but ended up in 1 year's period of proving all the things. Maybe what in other countries went much faster. So this is something, yeah, what is a little bit unique to Finnish market compared to other markets where we have gone. So we haven't seen such resistance. So like even Germany, we didn't have any operations there, but we were able to grow our investor base to be the biggest investor base without having like full operations there. So in Finland, we still see that we have all the licenses available. We're working with the best partners there, doing really good business, growing really heavily, but still it takes time to get the investors' trust, for example.
Thomas, Janne, do you have any good advice to Estonian companies how to get the trust, and how long should Estonian companies wait?
Well, I think it's in many markets, not only in Finland, that if you are offering financial services, I mean, it is a trust-based business, and it will take time to build the trust. Maybe specifically in Finland, what might be different to other markets is that Finnish people usually want to get quite familiar with a service before they really use a service, and then before a Finnish person gives a recommendation to someone else that hey, this is an amazing service, they are very careful. They first want to really trust that this service works. It's not easy for us to just tell everyone, yeah, this service is great, but it takes time to earn kind of the trust of Finns. But that, of course, applies a lot to like B2C businesses, or where you offer financial service directly. Then, of course, if you are providing technology services, then of course Estonia has a very good reputation as a leading nation in all things digital. So there, I would say that there is much less of a trust barrier and a very good reputation that Estonia as a country has for leading edge technology.
Yeah, I think Thomas summed up pretty nicely what I was thinking. So yeah, trust is big thing. If it's regulated area, then the licensing thing. Otherwise, getting reputation, contacts, references. That's how it works, and I don't think there is a shortcut. Finns are quite they like to go by the book and do things safely. Yeah.
We have got a question from audience. I see in the chat. It's asked how to build up a network in Finland. So question is targeted to Estonian companies. How have you done it?
Yeah, it is tricky question because actually Finns are not too open. I was lucky because I'm dealing now personally 15 years also with Finnish market, and I was doing sport in Finland at the very late of 80s and beginning of 90s, and then I got already many friends in Finland, and my very clear advice, but I think this is working also in all countries, not only in Finland, maybe few exceptions because of internal reasons, but normally if you are a nice open person, then all doors will be opened. And actually this is in my opinion, this is little bit overreaction, is that the Finns are very closed and very calm persons. Actually, if they take you already as a partner, then Finns are very open and then very strict, and they get you to your society, and then they help you to open doors. And I think there is no good advice in this meaning that to go to play golf or find some kind of, I don't know, sauna where to visit with important people. I don't think such kind of advice is working, but advice is you must be just yourself, open and nice person. And then if Finns see that you are a reliable person, then they help you a lot.
Any other comments? Mihkel, how do you see?
Yeah, that I think is thing. If you want to do it you personally, there are a lot of, okay, now it's more complicated during the COVID time, but before that there were a lot of really high and really good events happening in Finland, and starting from Slash to all the to the more specific area related topics. So this way to go there and start networking. But what has worked also for us is to, if you have a local team and a local country manager for that, for example, and you get the right people on board with an already existing network, then this definitely opens up already some of the roads to you. And through that person, you can actually continue building the local network even further.
There is one more action what you can do. That an example in our field, there are many exhibitions, many fairs, and this is working also very well. That you are going as a company to fairs and you see a lot of public, and if you look trustable and good, then customers, you can find many customers through those exhibitions. And yeah, last 1.5 years, unfortunately, it is not best time for the events, but I hope soon it will open again. And then as a TAVEX, we have seen, I don't know, investment exhibition, investment fair, and then some other fairs, and then those were working very well. I think that Finns are very much nation of fairs, and then people like to visit such places. And then if you are really well prepared for the event, then you can get a lot of contacts.
By the way, I'm asking, as we mentioned in the beginning, a sauna. Is a sauna just a symbol in Finland that everybody is talking about sauna, or in this context, it's actually needed or somehow useful to do the business in the sauna? Or yeah,
I personally never made any business meeting in sauna in Finland, and to be honest, I have had business meetings in ski track, and once with one partner we even organized joint Lapland visit for skiing, and of course during this skiing we went to sauna, but sauna, especially as a sauna, I never done.
Yeah, maybe that's a little bit of an old-time cliche that you make deals in sauna. Maybe it worked back in the day, where maybe it was a cliche in political circles as well, but it was always that back in the day, Finland and Soviet Union, you made deals in sauna. Did it really ever happen? Who knows? But I think it's a little bit of a old-time cliche, and world has moved on. Our world is much more inclusive these days, should be even more inclusive, and male-only sauna for deal making, is it like today's world thing? No, it's not. So I think it's don't put your hopes in making business in Finland through sauna.
So yeah,
we have actually organized a few fintech networking sauna related events. So you can, I think it's a way of getting connections, but I don't know about actually signing deals in the sauna, but it's maybe a nice atmosphere to get to know new people.
Yeah, I think from my side, I haven't been able to, due to COVID, go to Helsinki for 1 year almost, but we're talking with our Antti manager like every week, so business can be done digitally today as well. You don't need to do something extra mile today anymore.
Very good. Meanwhile, I see Valdar Liive has joined to us, and we agreed with Valdar that after we have discussed our topic, we will ask from him what is his reality in Finland, and what is needed in Finland for Estonian companies to succeed, as Valdar has highly extensive background supporting Estonian companies in Finland. So Valdar, are you here?
Yes. Hello. Could you hear me?
Very well.
Yes. So sorry I'm late because we organized today the opening business seminar in Finland in Estonian language. So we are in Newco, we promoting entrepreneurship and also about startup activities. Mr. Sandell already told you. But of course, what you have to do as Meelis Atonen, remember 2004, you have to build a bigger event in Senatintori, and then you got already a lot of good friends. Then it was event when I worked in Enterprise Estonia, and Estonia joined EU, so we have. And actually, for me, it was quite of the breakthrough. Like the personal. After that, you have some events, some activities you could like to be related. But of course, what is true, you all told already because you have experience. But hopefully, all the new companies like to come to Finland. They have the same patience as the 2-3 years, because it's like the minimal to understand. But maybe to give why the Estonian companies like to come to Finland. Of course, maybe one is the size. For example, in Finland there is the 5.5 million inhabitants. In Estonia, 1.34 million. Finnish budget 2165.2 million. In Estonia, 13.1. But what is the one figure? Figure is very nice. Dividends of Finnish listed companies Nasdaq Helsinki in 2019. Dividends, not profit, not all Finnish profit, was the 13.6 billion euros, so more than Estonian budget. So that means there is some opportunities. GDP per capita is in Finland 43,000 euros, in Estonia 20,900. So, and Finland is important, of course, as #1 trade partner, and export to Finland was 2020 from Estonia 2.24 billion, and import around 2 billion. But what is very important figure, Estonia is ranks number 6 among foreign investors in Finland, so number 6. So, and mainly is the services and ICT sector. But yes, you mentioned trust, very important. You have to earn it. It's not possible to without earning. Networks, yes, you build the networks, but you have to build networks before you need them. Because normally, and also the localization, so you have to know the local market, for example, online business. For me, was also surprised that online shops, the Finns, they don't use credit cards. They use bank links because it's good, it's easy, and of course the licenses or etc. But trust, yes, and actually what it's mean, what you told already, you need business plan. When the Estonian company, even the big company, comes to Finland, either is now the export manager for Enterprise Estonia, but normally when I worked in Enterprise Estonia, the Estonian companies, yeah, I don't give a of the marketing plan. I need the customers who have money. So, and this is also today sometimes, okay, because we're talking that Estonia and Finland, we are same roots, different leaves, or 2 branches of the same tree. We are the same family. That's true. But still, when you're coming to Finnish market, you have to do the same homework. You have to have the planning, your business plan, what is your activities, who are your clients, because it doesn't matter how big you are in Estonia. In Finland, you have to start from scratch. And also resources for 2 years or 1.5 years. But yes, maybe, and this is, I think, the biggest mistake, even Estonian government don't support, for example, to buy consultancy service to enter the Finnish market, because Finland is, brothers and sisters. But yes, maybe it's 25 years, 2-3 years. But yes, about the companies, if you say you have to decide, is it Finland the test market? Because, for example, if you're talking about the log homes, Estonian log homes companies, the biggest in Europe, biggest export numbers. But to Finland, very few, because, I don't know, traditions. But I think Finnish, Estonian companies could, like technology company, use Finland like test market, for example, development teams. Last week was the first article about the Starship in Finland. They have the 30-member team in Helsinki, about 2 years to develop and design. So that's the possibility. But even, and in Finland, for example, is the program batteries from Finland, but they don't have any idea who is Skeleton Technologies. That's the way it is. But for example, Harju Elekter is now promoting own brand, of course, PR Foods, Heimonkala, Tallink, of course. Eesti Gas, the new trademark name is Elenger because we have now the Baltic Connector. They have like the 10% of the market. From the startups, Meat Frank, Upsteam, for example, Upsteam used the car washing company used Finland as test market, but they because in Finland was not allowed to wash with water on the streets, so they had a big pivot in their services. Now they use everywhere like the waterless and found the solution in Finland. So. And there is also how to have the networks. Yes, there is a lot of programs like the Finest Twins between universities, of course, startups, investors. There's the program ESPAN and FIBAN. And there's a lot of many pilots and programs. Helsinki, City of Helsinki, Business Finland, Sitra, Smart Otaniemi, and like the health and well-being, circular economy, smart city education. And I think the Finland is good. It's a unique research environment. So it's also for technology companies. And if you're talking about the regions, last week was the seminar about the organic food. So the clusters, between the clusters, and last week also was the Estonian Finnish the matchmaking event. And there was from the North Finland, they are very keen to work with Estonian wood building companies. So you have to find your match to analyze the market, what is good, because in the news, what is Estonian, Finland is totally different. What is really your personal experience, build networks before you need them, and be open. For example, how I built the network. So if somebody asks about, I don't know, it doesn't matter. I give some answer or advice, and then you need only 30 years. As Tavex 25 years, then you have it. So that's my part.
Thank you, Valder. Thank you. And returning back to the panel, actually time is pressing. It's almost 4 o'clock. So we have to conclude our panel. So I got information that Finland is good market as it's, yeah, five times bigger than Estonia, but still it's not too large country, so it could be logical step to go on, and it could be eatable for Estonian companies. What we learned that you have to be nice person in Finland. There is no any rocket science, just to be nice with Finnish people, and it's important that you are going to Finland to stay in Finland. That you should have a patience. What I understood, and about sauna is rather like a metaphor that you have to pass through the sauna in that sense that you need to be patient to learn the market, to get the trust of Finnish people, and yeah, and it might take 2 or 3 years, what we heard today, but also might take longer. Dear panelists, do you have any final word or advice to audience before we finish our panel?
I have one advice to everybody. That was very good that Valder Liive was also with us. And if somebody who is totally new in Finnish market, then I can really advise Valder Liive to contact as a person, because I was cooperating with in politics and also in business times, and he's really, I would say, Mr. Estonia in Finland, and he could give the best advice.
Okay, thank you, everybody. And I would like to give a word to Taavi, our main moderator of event today, to conclude entire event.
Yes, thank you for the panelists, and thank you for all the people who spoke in today's webinar. So as I said, we will make this video available for our members and people who are interested to learn. And I personally learned a lot from you. So thanks a lot. And please let us know how we can improve similar events. Like should there be similar for Finnish companies who want to come into Estonia for some reasons, or do you want to have a networking events happening? So we're really open to feedback from all the participants here. Thank you again all, and have a great end of the week. Goodbye.